Welcome to the Explainer. All right, let's jump straight in. Today, we're taking some of the densest historical power dynamics ever recorded and, well, we're translating them. We're turning them into a cohesive, highly actionable psychological toolkit for your modern life.
So, why did the most lavish party in French history end with the host locked in a mountain prison for 20 years? It's a crazy mystery, actually. The guy's name was Nicolas Fouquet. In 1661, he threw this legendary, just unimaginably over-the-top party. We're talking fireworks, 7-course meals, all the greatest minds of Europe in one room, all to impress King Louis XIV. And the very next day, bam! He was arrested by the king's head musketeer and thrown into solitary confinement, just like that.
To understand exactly why Fouquet fell so fast, we are going to unpack 5 core themes today. We'll cover managing those above you, rethinking friends and enemies, the art of deception, prioritizing action over argument, and finally, the immense power of withholding.
Let's hit our first section, managing those above you, or how to survive the insecure boss.
The Fouquet story is the ultimate contrast for this rule: never outshine the master. Fouquet's massive mistake was thinking that throwing this incredible party would make him indispensable. Instead, all that flaunted wealth inadvertently made his boss, King Louis, feel incredibly insecure. And the king didn't admit his wounded pride, obviously. He just found an excuse to lock Fouquet up for life. Now flip that and look at Galileo in the early 1600s. He discovers the moons of Jupiter. But instead of hogging all the glory, he dedicates the discovery to his extremely powerful patrons, the Medici family. He even claimed the 4 moons represented the 4 Medici brothers circling Jupiter. Galileo basically secured his job for life because he didn't outshine his masters. He made them appear as brilliant as the stars.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this actually apply to my career? Well, you probably aren't serving a 17th century Sun King, but the insecure boss sitting in the corner office, they require the exact same psychological handling. People in power desperately want to feel secure and superior. If you naturally outshine them, you have to find a way to disguise your strengths, make them feel like the smartest person in the room.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, rethinking friends and enemies, and the whole illusion of alliances. You know, we usually think hiring a friend is the safest bet, but in reality, doing favors breeds unjustified entitlement and hidden resentment. Just look at the 9th century Byzantine emperor, Michael III. He promoted his best friend, this stable boy named Basilius, to the highest ranks of power. But all that charity eventually felt oppressive to Basilius, and he ended up murdering Michael to take the throne. It's wild. By contrast, if you bring in a former enemy, you're getting someone who has everything to prove. They will work tirelessly to show their worth. You genuinely have way more to fear from your friends than from a pardoned enemy.
But what about an enemy you absolutely cannot pardon or use? The rule here is unyielding. Crush your enemy totally. If even one ember is left to light, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out. When you're dealing with true, bitter enemies, showing mercy is literally a fatal vulnerability.
The timeline of ancient Chinese warlord Xiong Yu proves this perfectly. He had multiple chances to eliminate his rival, Liu Bang. First at a banquet, where he hesitated. Later, when he had him completely cornered on a retreat, he showed mercy again and negotiated a peace treaty. But Liu Bang didn't feel gratitude, he just felt bitter resentment. As soon as he recovered, he surrounded Xiong Yu's army, utterly annihilated them, and forced Xiong Yu to commit suicide. Stopping halfway out of pity just guarantees your enemy will come back to destroy you.
But before you act, whether it's a friend or an enemy, you absolutely must categorize your target. You've got the arrogant man whose touchy pride means he'll seek violent revenge for any slight. The hopelessly insecure man who will just simmer and attack you in small, exhausting bites. Mr. Suspicion, who imagines everyone is out to get him. The serpent, cold, calculating, just waiting to strike with a long memory. Or maybe the plain man who's honestly too literal to even fall for a trap. Accurately categorizing who you're dealing with is vital. Offending the wrong predator is a mistake you just can't afford.
All right, Section 3, the art of deception. We're getting into smoke, mirrors, and unpredictability.
Have you heard of the Yellow Kid, Joseph Well? He was one of history's absolute greatest con artists. He once swindled a millionaire out of $35,000, which was a massive fortune back then. And he didn't do it with some crazy, elaborate sci-fi lie. He used a completely boring, familiar scenario. A fake, slightly chaotic boxing match layered with a fake real estate deal. He teaches us that the perfect smokescreen is just an inconspicuous front.
It completely distracts the target's mind, making them so focused on the familiar illusion that they literally walk right into the trap.
And a huge part of that smokescreen is being utterly unpredictable. Check out Bobby Fischer's playbook during the 1972 World Chess Championship against Boris Spassky. Fischer arrived late. He complained endlessly about the lighting, the cameras, the chairs. He even made these terrible, deliberate blunders in his early games. Spassky was totally used to opponents acting in established, predictable patterns. By intentionally scrambling his own behavior and acting completely unhinged, Fischer basically melted Spassky's mind. Spassky ended up hallucinating, claiming that chess chairs were secretly drugged.
So here's the big takeaway. Predictability gives other people a sense of control. We humans desperately crave routine. But when you deliberately shatter that routine, it induces terror. It keeps your rivals hopelessly off balance.
That unpredictability leads perfectly into Section 4, Action over Argument, and how to win without words.
I love this story from the year 1502. Michelangelo is finishing his legendary statue of David, and the mayor of Florence tells him the nose is simply too big. Now, if Michelangelo had argued, he would have offended the mayor's pride and risked his entire paycheck. Instead, he uses the marble dust trick. He silently climbs up the scaffolding with a handful of marble dust hidden in his hand. He pretends to chisel the nose, lightly dropping the dust to make it look like he's making changes. The mayor looks up and says, "Ah, much better." He felt completely validated, and the statue's nose, Michelangelo didn't actually touch it.
Baltasar Gracian hit the nail on the head when he said, "The truth is generally seen, rarely heard." Any victory you think you get through a verbal argument is totally hollow. Words are slippery, and they just bruise people's egos. Demonstrating your point through physical action proves you're right without saying a single resentful word.
Finally, we hit Section 5, the power of withholding. This is all about building mystique through absence and silence.
It's basically the economics of absence. Think of the ancient story of Deioces from Medea. His village fractures into this lawless infighting. So Deioces steps up and becomes an incredibly fair, incorruptible judge. But then he realizes something crucial. He's too available. People are taking him for granted. So what does he do? He just suddenly retires. Instantly, the land plunges right back into crime, and the desperate people literally beg him to return, not just as a judge, but as their absolute king. Just like in economics, withdrawing your presence creates severe scarcity, and that instantly skyrockets your value.
You can withhold your words, too. King Louis XIV had this terrifyingly brief, ambiguous reply he used for almost every request. "I shall see." That's it. Nothing else. Silence puts people totally on the defensive. When you say less than necessary, you force others to nervously fill the void. And as they babble on to fill that awkward silence, they inevitably reveal their own hidden intentions to you.
And of course, you can withhold your commitment. Queen Elizabeth I survived using her brilliantly executed Virgin Queen strategy. For decades, she kept powerful foreign kings and dashing noblemen eagerly courting her, but she never committed to one alliance. She kept everyone eternally hopeful, making them pursue her while she maintained absolute independence. She proved that the moment you completely commit to someone, you surrender your power to them. Their frustrated desire is your ultimate leverage.
So that brings us to the end of our Master Manipulator's Playbook. I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on today. Look at your own relationships, your workplace, your daily battles. Are you actively managing your power, or are you unwittingly letting others manage you? Think about who truly holds the leverage in your life. Keep these lessons in your back pocket. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.